There's just 1 minute to showtime.
The engines are on.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
When they wrote up the systems and the rule set that we use, did working people get to write a line? What class of men on pen and paper jotted down their clues? With capital, the heart of their design. When 90 million want a thing, but some shareholders say no. Which class of people get to have their way? The people read the fine print, say that this thing has got to go. And we'll start writing a new contract here today. Don't you know that hundreds will work and one man keeps the money? They don't think they gotta tell us why. When they say the new social contract, all the bosses will be gobsmacked and everyone will want a sign. Oh, yeah, everyone will want a sign.
All right. It always takes like a million steps to get us on air. Hello, cousins. Thank you for joining us for another week in hell. We are glad to be with you. I'm here joined by my illustrious and talented co-host, our own Mr. Mayor Jared. Hello, Jared.
What's going on, guys? Good morning.
Yes. Good morning on the West Coast. Good afternoon, early afternoon on the East Coast, and whatever the hell you are in between. I don't know. That's just a time dead zone. I think. I don't think there's time in the middle of the country, to be honest. So happy Rapture to all to celebrate. I hope you're doing whatever it is you do on this day. And we're gonna hang out together for a little while and see if anything happens. So that's the plan.
We're getting fully noided, as I think the kids say. I am becoming fully paranoid.
Oh, yeah?
Fully noided. I don't know. I saw that as slang, and I'm like, that's good. I enjoy that.
That's a new one. Yeah, that's a new one. At least I'm old. Jared's not as old as me, so but
Not by a lot, but
so I hear things. I hear things sometimes. So yeah, we're really glad to be here with you. We're gonna see what happens if the comet comes. I wonder if it's gonna be like a hail bop situation, like
today's supposed to be the Rapture, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's another Rapture day.
Yeah.
It's like my ninth Rapture, and you've lived through this a bunch. There's been several Raptures.
Right? Yeah, that's kind of the way I feel about it. I'm like, bring it on at this fucking point. like whatever, let's go.
I remember the great 2012 Rapture.
Yeah, 2012. Yes, exactly. We've been through a few of these. A few of like, let's stash a few bottles of alcohol in the closet for currency when everything turns to hell. So no, I guess I'm pretty underprepared for this one. But I'm also not too worried about it either. I don't think we're gonna get that lucky. Everything just stops for a few minutes, like the I don't know, like the praying mantis holocaust from above comes down or something. And so I think that right now we should probably consult Ancient Aliens for this. So if you watch like 2 seconds of the Ancient Aliens, it's like every other word is the Anunnaki, the master race who made all the people and stuff. So let's see what they've got in store for us today. That's what I'm waiting. Like let's Ancient Aliens this bitch. So yeah. So glad to have you with us. Glad to be here. Glad to be above ground on this day. We had kind of a little reprieve of time where things weren't going nuclear as per usual. But then they picked
been a
up
lot of who's in trouble for what we've entered the Inquisition, but about like how can we wring as much value out of the Charlie Kirk assassination as we possibly can, where you have
everyone's like, quick, I have to make a post that will make me. I need
Right.
to sell a shirt. I need to design a mug. Like we need
Precisely.
to hold. Like there
Yeah.
were, I think there was like there's billboards here in Arizona. There was like it's the big, I don't know, wave of mourning. Like because
Isn't
we don't
that
even
where
call it
was it
mourning.
Arizona where the big thing was? Isn't that where you were?
Was
There
it?
was,
Was it in Arizona? That's the
I
thing,
think it
yo. I
was.
think this probably happened like 30 miles from my house, and I just not even 30 miles,
Didn't
like
even get
15
totally
miles from
tuned
my house.
out. Yes.
It's because yesterday I drove the other direction, and I think it was happening yesterday. So like, oh man, we have a lot of very really kind of chilling comments from the president, where God, he can't even pretend to give a shit. He's also partially dead. I don't know if you saw the photo released yesterday where he just looks exactly like Lurch. Like his
But yeah,
bottom
we
teeth are
also
up.
might. Well,
Yeah.
we've been kind of speculating a little bit that there could have been a minor stroke and or a
Yeah.
head injury or something. Bell's palsy. Bell's palsy is not really going to change your attitude or your behavior, but
It's just being
a small stroke might.
84.
So
Like once you're over 80, I think this just kind of starts happening. It might not be
yeah,
any one
maybe at this
specific.
point, and he might start acting out too because we've gone back and forth. If you've been keeping score at home, will he finish out the term? Will he not finish out the term? And I think we're both right because I keep saying no, and Jared keeps saying yes. They're going to weaken at Bernie's him just like they have every Democrat, and they did Biden.
He's very
and
useful as like a corpse.
Yeah, but my thing is like he's a loose cannon where it's like you can control the other people so much, but he's gonna get out there and be like, I want to fucking face fuck my enemies, and I want you to watch me do it.
I
R.I.P.
can't believe
Charlie
he hasn't
Kirk.
got out there already. Like, you see what we did to Charlie Kirk? You're next. Like, I can't believe
Right? That's like the next
he's
thing
held
that
it
comes out of his
together.
mouth. He just owns it. And everybody's like la 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 la.
All right, if he did that, I think he would not end up finishing the term. But as long as he doesn't, like it was like I've seen people comparing it to it's like a mob funeral where the mob attends the funeral of a guy they killed. Like that,
Right?
that's kind of what
This is
Sunday was like.
this has got that all the fuck over it. I mean, like, because obviously, like, if you don't really, as we say this a lot, you don't have to get conspiratorial when people are doing the crimes right out in front of you. Like they're still trying to hide the Epstein stuff, and people aren't talking about it right now. It's all
Seemed
Charlie
like
Kirk
kind of the
24/7.
point. It's like everybody was, as I said all this last week, where people were kind of there was a there was and is a unity around the Epstein thing, and this seems to be. I was really kind of despairing at first. I'm like, oh, it's just working. It's just gonna immediately. Everybody's like, quick, run back to the red tent. I'm a red person. Run back to the blue tent. I'm a blue team, and I cannot possibly agree with you on anything. But it hasn't. This hasn't got everybody. I heard somebody was commenting where part of one of the side effects of the general Republican Party picking up the majority of working class people now, like they kind of like swapped constituencies with the Democrats, is like a lot of working class people, they don't just accept the narrative and move on. There's a lot more conspiracy people like me hanging around, and so that's who I'm proud of. Every time something like this happens and somebody goes, wait a second, and then they, if you're supposed to be the peace president and you're starting wars, eventually you got to be like, well, all right, he lied to me and I'm out. Like I'm no longer on the bus. And those are the people who I'm the most proud of. People who, when they say America first, actually mean that. Like just today, we found out we're sending a quadrillion dollars to Argentina because Argentina's economy is having a hard time, and everyone's like, oh my God, we will send this money to literally anyone but like New Jersey or Ohio.
Right. Yeah, who needs roads and food in
Anybody.
America? Fuck it,
Just go out on the globe. Who needs money and doesn't live in America?
Right, exactly. There was a video going around just this morning, and I posted it on our socials, where they were showing this new train station or airport. I don't remember now, but this was like an hour ago. I don't remember. There was in China, obviously, because we always come back to China, and they're like, China is in 2150, and I'm like, China is just right now.
It's just in
That's
2025.
what things are right now. This is what happens when America strips its goddamn country for parts, and we live in a goddamn fucking wasteland. Like this is what it is. That's literally what it is. China's not in the future. They're literally not in the future. They're not doing anything futuristic. They're meeting the moment. That is literally everything. They don't have secret amazing future knowledge with the Anunnaki alignment.
They really
don't have it.
They who got the ancient aliens is China. They kept them there. They just,
Oh, yeah,
they're
sure.
still there building them new technology.
So that's where we are. We're chasing, we're oberissing pretty hard here and chasing our tails for,
I want to make a joke about how we did make America great again by taking us back to the 50s, but in the 50s I think we had better trains and
we did.
buses and
We did.
electricity.
And food was affordable and like everything was going down. No, actually, I was just, we're mind reading here. We're Anunnaki. We're we're having a moment because I was going to say the same thing because I kind of pointed this out before. I don't know if I've said it on the show, but in like when I'm ranting at people in life, I've pointed out like, okay, take away the internet real quick. Okay, like internet huge. Yes, we get it. Changed our life. Sure. But fundamentally, your day-to-day life, like you get up, you go to work, you eat your breakfast, you come home, you play with your dog and your kids, whatever. Is your life that much different than the lives people were living in the 80s? Is it that much different than the lives people were living in the 50s? Like, yeah, maybe the belief system have changed, but our houses basically look the same.
They are the same. My house was built in
A lot of them are the
1964.
same. Exactly. Our houses are the same or look the same. Our yards look the same. We still have lawns in most places for unknown fucking reasons. You still little things have changed. Don't go to the video store anymore, right? You scream. But is that like really like that's one thing? That's one different thing that we have that changes things because like no progress has been made in this country. Period. Like on any front. Yeah, maybe your beliefs change. Maybe you become more open-minded generationally. Politics change. Whatever. We get one big invention, but we fundamentally are living the exact same lives. Where you could not say that about China. That is 100% like the opposite direction there. So, anyways, yay China.
Every generation,
good job, guys.
Every generation we're in it now. You've heard people talk about it for a while. We're like one of the first generations where we're having a lower quality of life than the previous generation, at least depending on how you measure it. It's like I don't know. I guess we have apps. We can get other people to go and drive us food more
Right.
conveniently.
Yeah, and even in the 50s they had a Medicaid situation. Like that, so like things were better at different times than they are now. It's like in America you get the benefit of living like this is what they always told you Russia was. Like this is what they live in like these dog shit cave apartments and everybody has to live like 1 million people in one apartment and nobody gets to eat any food that they want. They've only got the one food and it's fermented fish and you have to eat it and you have to love Supreme Leader and it's like that's what we have been since all this time, since the Cold War, told that's what's going on in Russia. And I don't know a lot about what's going on in Russia, but I don't think it's that. So we're kind of diverging here a bit because things went from like nothing going on to like a lot in the last couple of days. So I'm going to turn things over to our mayor, who's got some very interesting points that we've been talking about very rapidly right before air.
I've got a chain of seemingly they're very seemingly connected stories.
Yeah, and essentially we're not trying to give free publicity to the Charlie Kirk story. I basically am just like, you reap what you sow, dickhead. Just you're going to get fragged by your own government to try to cover up their crimes because they figured you were just enough important and just not enough important to be the one. So, and this is what happens when you promote all this bad shit. You make yourself the one. So I don't really care. But the fact of it is there has been a lot of tendrils that have gone out of this nasty story. And the biggest one being is which I don't think is too hard to believe, the FBI is lying. So why don't you take it away, Mr. Jared?
Yeah, my interest in this whole story, because you'll see that you might, like if you've listened to us for a bit, you'll be like, why is Jared focusing on this thing specifically? It's not because of the subject. It's that like the state seems to have carried out a pretty blatant assassination in front of us, either our state or a foreign state on domestic soil. Just like whacked a guy and
right, yeah.
Israel
has gotten a lot of blame from the right. Interestingly, the right is putting a lot of emphasis on this being done by Israel. But if it was definitely in partnership with the United States.
When your constituency is the working class, is the regular poor people in America, they tend to look into shit, especially because just the lies have been stacking up, and that's just based on things that you can look at officially. So like. If a guy dies and then you arrest 2 wrong people, then a third person, and then put out a weird note that looks, there was a note and it was destroyed, but we have forensics that we can recreate what was said in the note.
Yeah, don't ask questions.
it's like a lot of these things where a couple of like individual elements of this can be given reasonable explanations. I'm like, okay, I guess I could see that. But then when you take all of them in combination, it's like, well, fucking something is weird. Like something is not the way that we've been told. I also, hey, up front, I do not think they have, just like with Luigi, don't think they have the right guy. Do not think that kid did anything. It's the good news, furries. No, a furry didn't kill Charlie Kirk because that kid did not shoot anyone. I don't think. I don't think a bullet was fired. Anyway, we're gonna get into it.
That's
Idaho
our official
legislators.
position on social contractors. This guy's not it. He's a patsy. And to be clear, he has not admitted to anything.
No confessions. They're getting out ahead of it. Like this, I saw an article where it's like the gun was too old to do any ballistic testings on. So like, don't hold your breath for that evidence either. I'm like, okay.
You can fire a round though. Okay,
That's what I'm saying. Why, do we have this bullet? All right, I'm getting ahead of myself. Seemingly unrelated. Idaho. I could have done this from. There were actually a lot of local papers that did this. There was a Hawaii one. There was a New Hampshire one. Blah blah blah. Idaho legislators participate in 50 states, one Israel conference paid for by Israeli government. This is where 250 American legislators are all in Israel on a big fun Hebrew vacation, I guess. And they're the big picture. You're like, what? Does this not seem weird to anyone that our whole government seems required to go over and look at the Wailing Wall for a while?
Yeah, why not literally anywhere else?
Yeah, they're not all going to Spain.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, why? Like literally, why not literally anywhere else? What's going on with it?
The only places they go are private spooky islands and Israel. 5 Idaho legislators. I picked Idaho because it's like a red state, quote unquote. 5 Idaho legislators participated in a bipartisan conference for American state legislators this week that took place in and was sponsored by Israel amid the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. House Assistant Majority Leader Josh Tanner. See, and these are like local, these are like state house, I think. House Assistant Majority Leader Josh Tanner.
Iowa viewers, you know what we're talking about here.
Yeah. Idaho, even fewer people.
Oh, Idaho. Whatever.
Sorry. Eventually I'll get the crap out of my throat today. House Minority Leader, and okay, they're listing what counties they're from, what their districts are. They're from Boise, these guys from Idaho Falls. And they say that like it was all, Boise State Public Radio first reported Wednesday that Idaho legislators were among 250 state legislators from across the United States who visited Israel to participate in the 50. It's like the minor league system. They have to make sure they get them while they're still in lower levels, just state governance, before they then move up to federal governance. So they already have like, oh, we've already contacted that person. We already know them. They've already been to Israel. They've already done the. Idaho state legislators' visit occurred amid the ongoing Gaza war as Israel sent ground troops and tanks into Gaza City, like literally at the same time. This week, the UN's Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the Occupied Palestinian Territory released a report stating that Israel is committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. There was another UN vote for a ceasefire resolution, which I don't know what that would actually do, but at least it'd be cool to sign the piece of paper, I guess. And of course, the US is there doing its like lone veto, or it's like them and Israel or veto, whatever it is. On Tuesday, the Idaho Israel Alliance,
Why is that a thing?
Posted photos of Ruble shirts Skaug. Man, they got some names out in Idaho. Ehart and Tanner planting a tree and Idaho flag at Ofakim Park, one of the Israeli communities attacked by Hamas and other militant groups on October 7th, blah, blah, blah. So, 4 of them are Republicans. One of them is they're the descendant of Holocaust refugees, so they had to go. The only Idaho Democrat. And then they have the Young Democrats are sending a statement like, why are you guys doing this? This seems blah, blah, blah. This is against all of our things. And they don't care because why would they? Our government does not actually represent us. Anyway, totally unrelated. Surgeon calls Charlie Kirk man of steel, reveals, quote, miracle factor that likely prevented more from being hurt. You'll remember in the Trump assassination attempt, which I have never said like wasn't a gun they shot at him, so I'm not just doing this with everything. This is like the Kirk one is weird. A guy behind him died because they shot bullets at him, and the bullets went behind like the first, not the first. Like think the I am one of my immediate thoughts when I saw like on frickin' I still remember the day you turn on Twitter and you see the president getting fucking shot at and you're like, oh my god, it's happening, like this seems like a really big deal, and then a day later it's like, nah, nobody cares anymore. Very weird how quickly that just like everyone's like
that was weird. Yeah,
well, they didn't kill him, moving on.
Yeah. They never even talk about that guy. Like that guy's like never brought up about like that guy
I'm pretty sure that guy did shoot at him. But the weird thing with that was how everyone stared at him for like 20 minutes going, hey, that guy's going to shoot at the president. And everyone's like, what guy? What do you mean?
And then the Secret Service went like this.
Don't worry about it, man. Don't even. But yeah, sorry we're laughing, but like a man did die in that because the guy shot and missed and hit someone. So you're probably sitting there going like, well, who was behind Kirk? Like, who caught that exit bullet? Like, they say it was a 30-06 or some other like high. I'm gonna use the wrong word because I'm like a fake gun guy. I operate firearms. I know how to shoot. I shoot semi regularly. But if I say like high velocity or like high impact, I'm like, that's the wrong word. Velocity refers to. All right. It was a big bullet that goes through stuff. It's like a hunting round.
Big bullet, go fast. Kill.
Yeah, it's like a big.
Kill deer.
It's a hunting round, and they're specifically meant to go. They want to go through your target because if you're hunting, you don't really want to like. You don't want the lead in the meat.
Right,
So
yeah.
like ideally it goes through, it dies. There's as little like soot and burning and shit going on as possible. So the fact that Charlie Kirk, there was no. It's also funny how the timing of this shit getting released happens. This was put out like almost instantly as soon as Candace Owens of all people, who is doing good reporting on this thing, she's out there like, this all seems weird, and it's weird how fast all of you are moving on from this. She's like, I saw the footage from the camera that was behind Charlie, and there was no exit wound. Like, I don't even know if she's lying, making that up, saying she saw other footage or whatever.
How
but
could you trust it? Yeah.
as
It's
soon
like
as she
any
said
detail.
that, suddenly this gets released, talking about Man of Steel, miracle bones that stopped the bullet
Miracle
from going through.
Exactly. Yeah,
Man of
because you know what, with
Go for it.
their fake religious convictions, like this is their steez. Like this is exactly what they're all about. That there would be some sort of religious situation, a miracle that's literally religious, like bingo. You know, like so they're selling the audience that would subscribe to this shit on
They've
that
sainted
using
him.
their
Where now, if you doubt this official narrative, you're like, they've implied that you're now like, oh, you deny miracles, you deny the work of God. Like,
right, exactly.
It's all attempts to try and like, shh, don't fucking stop it. Or you're gonna question this miracle? You can't question
Right.
miracles. That's heresy.
Yeah,
You're now a
right?
heretic.
Yeah. Now you got to lose your job. So, well, haha, joke's on
Yeah.
you. I don't have a gerbs.
And Candace Owens, if you remember, got like, she had her whole split with Ben Shapiro and them because she won't go along on Israel. She was in trouble for saying Christ is king, and it's like, I'm a Christian. That's kind of like one of our things. And they're like, well, that's like an anti-Semitic dog whistle, and you don't like Israel enough. She's like, yeah, I don't give a shit about Israel. And then, hey, on this particular issue, Candace has been doing a great job. Especially like from that direction.
It's just weird that it's coming from the right. That's the thing. Like you wouldn't anticipate
Tucker
that they would-
Carlson, Candace
Right?
Owens, here are your
right?
people.
Yeah, and then now they're starting to meet the moment like in the middle of the scenario and reach into the that's what centrism is. By
They're becoming actually red pilled.
Right.
right.
Yeah, right?
as it's happening.
Yeah, so it's like where the Democrats tried to reach the what they perceived to be the centrist, which are just MAGA, that were disillusioned, didn't get what they thought, didn't punish who they thought they were going to punish, and didn't get what they thought they were going to get, so they didn't like it anymore, and then it didn't work. Now those people on the right are finding their niche with that centrist, expat, hardcore Trump support.
At your foundation, you're supposed to be anti-establishment. I know a ton of people. I know a ton of sentiment behind Trump's original election was that we have to shock the system. Like, we voted for these guys, nothing changed. We voted for the other guys, nothing changed. We're gonna vote for this third guy who seems like he'll at least shake shit up. So
Right.
if you are a Ben Shapiro who's just like, everyone be quiet, listen to the State Department, everyone trust the government, that just isn't. That's not your electorate. That's a gigantic swath of America, just rightfully so, does not trust the government. They don't trust the institutions. They see just the open evidence of just the confirmed times where they lie to us, and they're looking at this going, yeah, this looks a lot like the pattern of lies that we've been talking about since freaking JFK. So the surgeon who tried to save the that's another like weird aspects. That guy was dead before he hit the ground. So anybody talking about like, oh, he was rushed to a hospital and no, man, like there was nothing. No surgeon looked at him and was like, he has a chance.
Right. No, that didn't happen. That wasn't happening for sure.
The surgeon who tried to save the mortally wounded Turning Point USA founder described it as an absolute miracle that the bullet, which hit the conservative icon's neck, did not pass through him and strike any of the dozens of people standing behind him at his final speaking engagement at Utah Valley, blah, blah, blah. I'm not usually, this is the doctor, I guess. I'm not usually interested in delving into most of this kind of online chatter, and I apologize. This is somewhat graphic, but in this case, the fact that there wasn't an exit wound is probably another miracle. Which you could also take as him like if you read it with certain eyes, is going, yeah, it's impossible. There's no way. There's no exit. Like,
So
miracles
we're
don't.
essentially talking Magic Bullet 2.0. Like, oh, all right, that makes sense. That's the explanation.
The
Instead
fact
of
that
saying
there-
magic, we say miracle now.
The fact there wasn't an exit wound is probably another miracle, and I want people to know. It's like, what do you want? Oh yeah, it's also like we don't have direct quotes from any doctor. It's wrote the representative Andrew Colvett on X, who is like one of Charlie Kirk's friends. After sick conspiracists looked to exploit reports of a lack of an exit wound. Oh yeah, this is the New York Post, by the way. So they're editorializing a bit there. I just spoke with the surgeon who worked on. Yeah, this is the guy talking on the surgeon's behalf. He said it absolutely should have gone through. He's just repeating what we just said. High-powered, high-velocity round. I've seen wounds from this caliber many times. They always just go through everything. This would have taken a moose or two down, an elk, etc. It's like they're trying to tell you this is impossible. This did not happen. But it didn't go through. Charlie's body stopped it. This is impossible. This did not happen. Colvett described how he told the doctor that dozens of staff, students, and guests were standing behind Kirk at the time of the shooting. Yeah. It was an absolute miracle that no one else. Okay. So like let's get noited, as they say. Initially, I think last week I was talking about how like the angle. I'm not gonna show video clips because one, I think that would probably get our stream in trouble anyway. But I don't really want to see it, and I don't know you really want to see it. If you want to go find,
You pretty much have had your chance at this point.
You can find the videos very easily if you want to see a man die on camera, which I've seen enough times in my life. I've got over it. Based solely on my analysis of the two angles. But I was talking about how like the theory for a bit was like this camera was put behind him and then was taken away really fast. Did they put a frickin' like dart gun or some shit behind him that like hit him in this way? Because like his shirt goes up in the thing. We're like, what? If you get shot here, why would his shirt go like? Huh? And that kind of seemed to make some sense, but now, especially after Candace, so then the theory was we weren't seeing an entry wound, we were seeing an exit wound. It was coming like out from behind him. And then Candace said, hey, I saw the video and there's nothing, his back has no, like, there's no mark on his back at all. I'm like, well, okay, so it can't be that. Like, the guy I've been listening to, Logo Daedalus, who I've shown on this podcast various times, he was... he says things that make me think. He's like, if you looked at this like you were an alien and just saw this, like the video of Kirk getting killed, like what would, and if you didn't know, if you weren't already told that he was shot by a gun, like looking at this video, what would you assume happened? If you're not from Earth, if you have no preconceived notions of any kind and you're just watching the video, what happened to this guy? That's where they're talking about, this doesn't look like a bullet going in, this looks like, so... keeping that in mind, pretend, get shot, get shooter, get sniper rifles and shit totally out of your brain. And let's look at this for a second. Let's get noited. Based solely on my analysis of the two angles of the event on September 10th, I have come to the conclusion that this is the object that struck Charlie Kirk in the neck. What's this? The DJI Mic 2 is a wireless microphone with a rectangular magnetic clasp. That's the thing in the picture from above. This device has a 300 milliamp battery that weighs 8 grams. On that day, he had this isn't graphic. This is just showing him with the freaking mic thing. No, he's not about to die yet. Well, Eric. On the day, Charlie Kirk had the microphone mounted with the bulk of the device under his shirt. Notice the magnetic clasp on his shirt and the angle that it rests, like stuck over here. He's got, yeah. This is the battery for the DJI Mic 2 transmitter that was underneath Charlie's shirt. This is an 8-gram, 300 milliamp battery that's unique in that it's very easy to swap. A 2-gram charge of, I don't even know what it stands for, PETN, some kind of explosive, would match the power of a 30-06 and leave 75% of the battery functional, undetectable. What? Jared, you're insane. No one would ever use a small electronic device with an explosive in it in an attempt to assassinate people.
Where have we heard that one before?
No one would ever put a pager that we had manufactured in a special crazy sequence of manufacturers to give to a bunch of Lebanese people and blow off a little girl's face. That would never happen. That has never happened, as far as I know. and can never happen. You'll see, okay, we're not showing this. Even though this doesn't show any blood or anything, it's the bit where it shows his fucking shirt go, like,
Well,
see
you
the
get it.
shockwave travel from the mic outward. His neck and ears quake with the force. His earpiece flies up as his body is slightly lifted from the explosion. His shirt deformation show a directed blast across his chest with the wave peaking around his neck. As the shockwave travels across his body, the magnetic clasp is flung across his body in just a few frames and disappears into his neck. Stuff where we're going frame by frame, the video, and I know we have like HD video now, but it's just blurry enough that I'm like, yes, that could be the thing going up, gone, disappears from frame, or it could just get blurred into the pixels and just went so fast that it left the frame between frames, yada yada. So I
Again,
don't put,
we're not forensic video experts
Yeah.
here. We're just like some armchair shit from some yahoos going on here. But
The
the
wound
the
that
point
appears.
is solid. You know, the points are sound here.
I think this is just as plausible as anything. The neck wound that appears, same size as the class, displays the flow patterns of a low velocity impact. For all things, and like they go into like, look, if it was high velocity, yes, you would expect the tent behind him, movie style, to have like a big
Yeah.
blood splatter on it or something if he
You know,
really got
it-
shot from the front.
And just as some context here, when the FBI blew off John Kennedy's head in a parade, that
He didn't
right
have a
in the middle of
miracle
like
head.
a literal parade.
His
that
miracle
round-
head didn't hold the round.
Right, no, that round created a vacuum inside of his dome, and it suctioned his brain out of his head.
His
That
head
is in the film.
exploded.
That is in the film. If you think you've seen the Zapruder film, you've not seen it all the way through, apparently, because that has, if you see the whole thing, you also get the benefit of seeing his brain get suctioned
Yeah, you
out
watch
of
his head
head.
literally fucking explode, like
So-
implode and then explode.
So if this whole thing had gone down the way that we're being told that it had gone down, because we're just so desensitized to gun violence, like that's such an easy explanation, right? Well, a lot of us have been spent the last 2 years watching a lot of fucking gun violence in Palestine, so we've seen a lot of really disgusting shit happen when people get shot in the fucking head or neck with a goddamn high velocity round of artillery. So you see there are repercussions to that. You don't just this is so much more akin to what you see in the movie where somebody gets dropped, you shot, and then they just drop and it's over. In reality,
The
there's other shit
PG-13
that
movie.
happened.
Yeah. The PG-13 movie gun death were just as opposed to the R-rated gun death which
Yes.
yeah, not every time you get shot is there a gigantic geyser of blood, but if they're if they're saying it was a 30-06 shot from the place it was shot and all the other factors, either you believe in miracles and his body just just kept the bullet. Also, this is the first time we've heard about a recovered bullet, and the fact that I mentioned last week have already paved the spot that it happened on. They paved
Not
it.
weird.
The crime scene is gone. There is no
and
potential.
again, there is no confession. No one
Definitely.
has confessed.
No, they
the man that they
recreated
have in
a-
custody did not confess to anything yet. What are we, 3 weeks in now? Hasn't happened. 2-3 weeks at this
They
point. I don't know.
recreated a Discord chat somehow through enhanced interrogation technique. No, what did he say? They don't say enhanced interrogation anymore. It was like aggressive interview posture, I think is what Cash Patel said. So like at most they beat a guy until they said something like
Yeah, and then they made up a text thread, and which pretty much immediately the New York Times came out and was like, this was made up and reproduced. So
he goes on to talk about like they're like, wait a second, if they just did a little tiny bomb, wouldn't that just like fire and then that's it? And they talk about how, like shaped charges and how yes, if this is right here, it doesn't take that much of a shockwave to kill you. Like it's not necessarily a piece of shrapnel or whatever that kills you with explosions. It's if the explosion is powerful enough and directed in the right way. It doesn't take that much to, like, the human body is kind of fragile, it's like how a bullet would go through.
especially
The
like
spoiler.
in this region.
So this guy theorizes that the idea was supposed to be explosion. He dies. There's like a explosion-y mark here that looks like that was a bullet hit him or something. But unfortuitously, I don't know. Yeah, that little thing goes flying into his freaking neck, which leads to the very gory situation that we are all aware of. A mag clip spoiled a clandestine assassination of a predominant political figure. This is the object that struck his neck. A shaped charge hidden in the battery of the road pro-transmitter detonated and set the magnetic clasp flying into his neck. Charlie also had a lavalier microphone with a 90-degree locking connectors. The explosive force of the shaped charge pulled the microphone from his ear and around his head. This is the movement seen behind his head on the back of the cable pulled for, and then he has some shots here where he like traces the cable, and he's like, "Look, I don't know, I don't know. Are the hand sign guys the ones that like hit a trigger or something in their
no
sleep? I
time
don't know."
or yeah, exactly.
But it's like, look, it's here, and then in this frame, it's getting pulled back, and if you're just like shot in the way they said, like, what, that wouldn't, like, what that shit wouldn't be happening. There'd be no reason unless someone's like pulling him from behind by the cable for it to unwrap from around his
And it
ear.
was also,
Oh, there
but
it
you see
goes.
from the reaction of the crowd, they don't really know what happened, even
Nah.
standing right next to
Nobody
him.
knows what the fuck
So
happened.
he just kind of looks like he's having maybe a seizure or something up front, and so everybody's kind of like, huh? And you know, so it's not like clear, like, oh, he has just been shot. Look, you know, so that's if you're gonna get shot with a round of this nature. It's going to be pretty obvious what the fuck happened to pretty much everyone looking at you at that moment.
The shot from the back theory is built on an exit wound to the neck, which is clearly an entry wound from the clasp that held the microphone onto Charlie's shirt. We have the trajectory, the wound shape, the wound type as evidence of this fact. The cord is further evidence of this. Further analysis of the videos have shown that more evidence of an explosion underneath Charlie's shirt with the epicenter. That also would make sense as to why his shirt goes, "Wah!" that is the most normal explanation. Like, oh yeah, if a little thing went here, that would make his shirt do that very weird and specific shirt move. It looks like someone poked a finger like outward through his shirt. The deformation of his shirt and the movement of his earpiece and magnetic clasp all point towards the Rode mic. And we have various other shots, and then people go on to speculate.
Yeah, this is obviously
people
not
bring up the
something
lipstick gun from the freaking KGB in the 80s.
Yeah, right?
Like,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not
like,
even
yeah,
the weirdest shit.
Spy shit. Yeah, no, because that stuff is just it's so easy to do. You know, we literally just saw this happen.
The pager attack is where I'm
The
like,
pager attack.
oh, yeah, they like just did that. Like, this isn't even...
This is now the way to do shit, obviously. Like, because they needed it to be clean. They needed it to be confusing. They needed it to be like, I don't know, like not have people like around get killed because of the mistake that was made in the.
Well, I mean, at least Jesus. Like, I guess that's the one gotta hand it to the assassins is they only killed one guy this time, and it was the right guy.
So that's you know, you take, you know, if you can have your own analysis of this, whatever. We hate having to even to pay attention to it. But
sorry, the pager attack was almost exactly 1 year ago. It was September 17th, 18th.
Yeah, so I mean, it's enough time for people to forget that happened. Enough time that people wouldn't make that connection necessarily. And again, don't forget, like 99.99999% of people are not paying attention to any of this, and that's why we had talked about this a little, or like right after it happened. It's like, is this a talking point for the internet, for internet people, or are people really invested in this situation? And my feeling is no, people are really not that invested in this situation. It's just that those of us who are all on the internet, it's a talking point because we get this main character brain scenario, like main character syndrome, where it's like, well, I have to voice my opinion about this. Did you know you don't? Did you know that you don't have to comment on every single thing that happens, especially if you don't fucking care about it? Like, everybody is not dying to hear your opinion. So that's the thing. Like, by feeding this, by blowing oxygen into this fire, it's just creating a bigger question about what's going on, because we know the government lies. We know they've been doing it the whole time. We know we've literally been watching it for like basically all of American history, for like, you know, if you just want to look at assassination history, you know, after a point, you know, this is like this is textbook FBI CIA shit, you know, and if Israel is involved, which probably they were, it would have been a joint operation. And it's like, why should anybody trust anything anybody's saying, even if they were verbatim telling the literal truth about every single thing? So it's like, you know, what are you going to leave these people with? Like, America, whoever's paying attention to this, even if you're not, you're going to be like, ha, yeah, fake, whatever. But then move on with your life. That's the thing. But they were able to parlay this situation into covering up for Epstein for a while. And
I feel like it's got a new thing like has to happen soon, because now, like, what starts out that's why I have overall just kind of faith that that we the people will win eventually, because what started out as like this could be, that's the thing, it ends up fitting many functions. So I don't think anyone sits in a dark room of evil people going, what is the singular thing we will do to distract from the Epstein situation? I know, we will kill Charlie Kirk. I don't think it works quite like that, but it has enough like knock on things of assuming we have time, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Italian years of lead. It
Yeah,
fits
that's something
feeds
I
into
want.
that
We
overall
definitely need
thing.
to get into. Because
Charlie Kirk did have a large ground operation of the quote the youth. So if it really is Israel trying to be like, haha, we'll get the guy who talks to the most like 24-year-olds because that is important, the next generation of. I don't think that worked at all. I think if anything now, just people are just even more like, oh my god, I can't believe it. He had like one little. He was 1% going off of the Israel script, and they fucking whacked him in front of his family.
Right.
Like this is like if you're trying to like quell the anti-Israel sentiment of the youth. This that seems like that
Not
just
the
did
way
the
to
exact
do it.
opposite.
And especially when your own people start saying Israel was behind this. So
The hope is it pushes more people away from the uniparty, because if you were like
yes.
a hardcore, if you were like I like specifically the Republican Party, look what they did to your guy, like, and then they showed up at his funeral and basically mocked him. Like, if you have any idea what actually happened, this idea that the government goes and like, oh, what happened is such a tragedy. Anyway, we're now
Yeah.
going to crack down on TV hosts and
Yeah, and then we have the Democrats seem to have gotten more into it than the Republicans. Republicans have used this as a marketing opportunity, and Democrats were like super serious about it. They're like, poor him, poor his family, poor him. How about poor like 1 million Palestinians? Let's go there. And then that parlays into what he was saying. It's like, oh, let's take this out on people's gerbs, and let's take this out on Jimmy Kimmel. That shit is fake. As far like, okay, we're going conspiracy again here, because where I see it as is, okay, the difference between what happened with Colbert and what happened with Kimmel is Colbert's entire franchise. Like, he was the head of the Late Show, and the whole Late Show franchise was canceled because they said it was no money making, which is no surprise, because if you've ever watched
yeah,
that,
I believe it did not make money.
There was no way that like
millions of
barely
dollars.
any ad revenue coming in, like no way that was paying off. Nobody watched that show. It was trash. Yeah, he makes fun of Trump, but so does like literally every other stand-up comedian in person and podcaster and whoever. So who
I don't
cares?
think does anybody watch Jimmy Kimmel or any of the late night shows like quote profitable, or
Not anymore. They're really not, because people are not trying to hear the regurgitated facts of the day that they already had to live through all day through this really trash lens of corporate bullshit.
It's just a podcast. It was the originator of the podcast. What do they do on those shows? They
Right.
come out, the host does some jokes, then they talk to some people, and then it's over. Like, that's what a podcast is.
So
We
if
do
you
some
look at it
bits.
from most people looked at this like, this is censorship. They're trying to shut people down. They're firing people. This is the catalyst. And we're talking about Kimmel now and not Colbert. Because again, Colbert the whole franchise was shut down. Not just we get a new host, we rebrand. The whole thing was stopped. But in this, Kimmel was suspended, right? Because there were objections by Sinclair and some of the broadcasters. They said they don't like what he said. He didn't say anything. And
He really didn't either.
Like nothing. It was literally nothing. So they make this big ado about it. So what it looks like more to me, if you take a second to be like, bigger picture here, is this was really a marketing ploy by Disney to bring more money and awareness into what they're doing. Because if you
critical
heard me on
support
the show,
for Jimmy Kimmel, we have to save Kimmel. Everyone start watching Kimmel.
Right. And the thing is, he's not high enough in the hierarchy to have been part of this. This was like a Disney, like broadcasters, collusion situation where they figure out how they could benefit from a situation like this, because he was never fired and the show was not ended. He was put on suspension indefinitely while they sorted all this out. And then if you hear about, he's coming back tonight, and if you hear about like the talks and negotiations, he basically was like, I'm not changing. And they're like, he's not changing. And he doesn't do shit anyways, right? He's just a Trump critic like anybody else. So
I was going to look and be like, wasn't Kimmel on the Epstein list? And I'm like, no, I'm misremembering. It's that NFL quarterback Aaron Rodgers once said that he was on the Epstein list.
Okay. Yeah, very credible situation there. But the thing of it is that we're looking at here is At the same time that we sit here and say boycotts work, and it did have an impact, but they used that boycott, Disney used that boycott to their advantage to draw attention to this, because you've heard me say about there's this hero will rise-ism, this Marvel brain that people have, and they own Marvel. They play right into that shit. They want you to feel like there's a hero in your corner who will rise and will change everything. Because what
That's
happens?
what voting is. You vote
that's
for
what
your
voting
hero.
is. Try to make you feel like the hero. Because what happened here? We had both the guilds, the director and actors guild, I believe, both said, "Hey, don't do that," about Kimmel. Then you had like a bunch of celebrities sign a petition, "Hey, don't do that." Then you had all these people canceling their Disney subscriptions. "Hey, don't do that." And they're like, get a hold of their ads, and tell them that you're mad. And then it apparently it was a loss of $3.8 billion to Disney. That's couch cushion money to Disney. There is no boycott in the world that could
I think
ever
that's just what
hurt
you tell your shareholders at the meeting when you lost money. It's like, oh, it was this damn Jimmy Kimmel thing. It wasn't us.
Right?
It was Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, so I feel like this was an orchestrated situation. When you look at the big picture, how business works, like these mega corporations, they use this as a jumping off point for publicity to come out there and be like, Kimmel is a hero for free speech. And then if you watch John Oliver's last week's show, his whole show was about this, and his big message was Disney nut up. Like that was the whole thing. Like, come on, get in there and fight for your guy.
Please, my lord, go fight on our behalf. Us,
Yeah,
the poor
right.
peasantry.
And so there's at the same time as they're selling you this boycotts work, freedom of speech, can't lose your job because government doesn't like it. They're ultimately turning this around to do Hero Will Rise and make this huge scenario out of it where Disney comes out on top and looks like a good guy for once, and Kimmel looks like the catalyst of that. Like, so he's gonna come back tonight to the greatest fucking fanfare that anybody's seen.
Right.
And that's just,
and everybody will watch Kimmel for 2 days, and then they'll remember why they never watched late night, and then they stop watching
right?
again.
And that's the thing. Like, okay, what if all these people came together to say stop fucking blowing kids' heads off of Palestine?
I know, it's
Nobody
like everybody
gave a shit about any of that going on 2 years now. So
that's my tempering of my conspiratorialism, is that these things aren't like one direction to it. It's more like an event happens, and then like the feeding frenzy begins, where everybody gets what they needed out of it. Trump gets to be like, look, haha, he talked shit and then he got fired, because nobody really goes and checks that they get like, oh, he got quietly rehired. And it's like when
he doesn't follow up. He's just like, I got what I wanted, and then moves on.
Like when Neil Young said, I'm going to quit Spotify because Spotify is a horrible, evil company. And then like 6 months later, he just quietly was back on Spotify. But you still get the headline of like, look, I'm taking a stand. And then the other gets the opposite of that. Disney gets to go, ha ha, we stood up to the like, everyone can pretend that they won, and you move on.
And everybody makes fucking bank doing it in the meantime,
important people,
because it is about revenue. Money. It's about getting your money. So that is what's that's what's happened.
Disney loves positive attention. They haven't gotten positive attention in forever, so they get to be like, oh, look, see, we stood up for the president.
Yeah, they're working on their own image. They know that there's no boycott in the world that could ever really genuinely hurt their bottom line. And
make money off of government contracts like everybody else who wins.
100%. And then that's essentially what's going on here now. There was we also had briefly we'll talk here about we also had this whole, because this also plays into the exact same scenario, just with some different companies involved. Yesterday's big announcement, it's Tylenol, literally quote unquote Tylenol, causing autism. It's fucking not. There's no known cause of autism. For most people, autism is just a different, there's neurotypical way of thinking, there's neurodivergent way of thinking. It's literally just a different, way to add the numbers, and that's how it is. Some people, obviously, it's debilitating of a condition, but that's why it's like graded on a scale. Okay. So no, vaccines don't cause autism. Tylenol doesn't cause autism. But here's the big question. So why do we have big three here going on? Trump, Kennedy Jr., and Dr. Oz, okay? So, your most trustworthy...
Oh, Dr. Oz is also out. Come on,
right?
man.
You got
I was hoping for a face
people.
turn, a Dr. Oz good guy turn here.
Yeah, well, they come out in this joint press convo, and then they're like, Tylenol's doing it. Don't take Tylenol, blah, 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 blah. No connection to Tylenol. So, okay, the active ingredient in Tylenol is acetaminophen. Tylenol is the brand name. That's like saying Windex instead of glass.
Well, he is saying during pregnancy.
Right. Okay. But if that was the case, literally everyone would have autism at this point. And again, they're treating it like it's some kind of giant scourge, because like it's the same reason they've jumped on the trans agenda shit. Like it's just they picked it out of a hat. If we talked some weeks ago about the Dark Money game documentary, it's like why part one, like there are two parts of it, and it's like why did republicanism and why did the conservative movement jump on abortion? Why not like anything else? Why that? Because it's an easy target that they could exploit in a big way to make money off of and influence policy. And that's how that happened. This is the exact same thing, because they know basically all people are for abortion in one way or another at this, except for the minority of people. So what's the next like random enough, weird enough thing that they can vilify and deify, like, and demonize, and that's transism, because people just it seems to be on the rise, whereas it's always been around, just like autism always been around, so it's like they can take these two things and they can jump on them. But in the case of the Tylenol causes autism, the first thing that comes to mind, if you do any kind of armchair legal shit like I do, is like Tylenol's a brand that probably, I don't know who it exactly belongs to, but probably Johnson and Johnson. So sue their dicks off for like you've got a defamation lawsuit like of quadrillions of dollars here on your hands. And again, this comes back to making money, because why these guys all have stake in other companies and want to start putting out their own versions of Tylenol or whatever, and their own and making money off of their own companies. So it's another back and forth of making money. This is an attempt to make money, because we know that this administration, that's literally their entire interest in anything, is who they can extort money out of. So this is an extortion plot, basically, which is the same as it was with Disney. This is all money, and people tend to forget that when they get into these sort of little nipping politics about like, oh, Jimmy Kimmel. No, like Jimmy Kimmel is a piece of this story. He's a Jenga piece. Like the rest of it is the big thing, and all of this is going to go back to making money. Now, in the last minutes here, Jared does have some interesting stuff for us about some historical context regarding what was known as the Days of Lead, and it was Italy this took place. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's. I wish I had a more like the articles I can find on this are a bit longer than what we
It
have.
took essentially it was to set you up for this. It was a period of time politically when so much shit was going on that ultimately it just paralyzed the common people into being like not knowing how to move forward or what to agree with. And it's very much what is like what's going on now. It's where the government has created a scenario wherein it's paralyzing people to get them to essentially manufacture consent and go along with whatever they say, because they figure, well, I don't know what to do. If people are getting their heads blown off at rallies, then maybe we do need military in our cities. So take it away, Mr. Mayor.
I'm reading from our most illustrious of sources, Wikipedia, because it'll give me at least some kind of relatively brief overview. Because part of the thing that's so interesting is actually is looking at the lists of belligerents. Like you'll see there's three columns we have here, where we have Italian government, far left terrorists, and far right terrorists, and it's just always great as as you go down, you'll see, like I pointed out last week, you'll see like, oh, Gladio, what's that? And Operation Gladio, talking about things that are just open, that you'd be called a super conspiracy theorist if back in the day. You'd be called a psychopath. You're talking about this in the 70s, 60s, but yeah, it's just a thing where it's NATO effing around in other countries to foment regime change and get beneficial economic deals. It's always just about deals. It's not usually actually about like satanic creepiness, but that's just a side effect of it. But we have, here we are. The conflict involved violent struggles between militant neo-fascists and far-left organizations, as well as the Italian state. I think they on purpose put the Italian state and the far-right terrorists on either side of these three to not suggest that these two are basically the same team. Which is not to say I am like on the side or agree with the tactics of the quote far-left terrorists in this, because the word in Marxism is adventurism, usually preceded by the word reckless adventurism, and that's the idea of how does Wikipedia put it? Far left groups carried out targeted assassinations, kidnappings, and bombings intended to destabilize the state and inspire a proletarian revolution. Well, you see, even if that is your intent, I have bad news for you. It does not work. We have piles of historic evidence now of how, like, a V for Vendetta style, like, we'll just blow up a thing and then that'll awaken the worker and they'll be like, I'm not gonna take it anymore, and then they're all gonna join us. Like, no, you scare people. They go, oh my god, those people blew up a thing? That's horrible. And then
it drives them into the right. It drives them into feeling like, okay, maybe we do need military in our cities.
Yeah. They don't, people, most, unfortunately, this is also actually a thing you can read about if you read Lenin's What is to be Done. Great name for a thing. I was like, well, what do you do? Or, what is to be done? You can read a book that is called that. The spoiler is that he's like, we should start a newspaper, but like a really good newspaper, and then we organize around that, and we keep it kind of secret because the feds keep busting us. And, I don't think we need to start a newspaper here in 2025, but he talks about the difference between the spontaneous uprising and then the on purpose, start a party and get people, hey, here's what we're doing. Do you think that's a good idea? Come join it. Like the open and honest process, which must actually happen. Or the adventurous idea of we're just going to do stuff and then spontaneously the worker will just go, I'm over this. And it's like, well, if that was going to happen, it would have happened already. Yeah. Don't you think? Major attacks of the period. Oh, sorry. Above that, I wanted to read. This political violence emerged from a backdrop of widespread social unrest following the post-war economic boom and disillusionment with the mainstream political parties, primarily the ruling Christian Democracy and the Italian Communist Party. The violence began to decline in the early 1980s following the arrest of key Red Brigade's leaders and the introduction of anti-terrorism laws and that encouraged militants to become state witnesses. Parliamentary inquiries later revealed that the covert involvement of rogue elements within the Italian intelligence services and the secret propaganda do Masonic Lodge. You'll hear about, like, whenever you start talking about the Freemasons, everybody stops listening to you because you sound like a psycho. But then you look into it and you're like, oh my god,
they really were involved.
They really are involved in like freaking everything. They just go by different names. I was going through in my UK tour earlier this year when I went through Ireland and England, etc. We were in the Dublin Castle and somebody pointed out, hey, our little tour guide we were doing the guided tour with pointed out, hey, you see that star on that guy's like thing? Well, that's the Order of St. Patrick, and the Order of St. Patrick was a special group of Masons who, and I'm like, oh my god,
No,
everything is the freaking Masons, and now I see, and it looks almost identical to us. It's a 6-pointed star. It isn't hollow, so it doesn't quite look like Star of David, but you start seeing 6-pointed stars, and you're like, wait, what the fuck? And it's like, no. The Masons also did a 6-pointed star, which is separate from the. They just kind of put every occult symbol. They weren't specifically even Christians. There were Christian crosses. There's the sickle moons of like Islamic looking things. There's 6-pointed stars. And they just loved spooky symbolism. And once you see them, you start going, oh shit! Like every freaking sculpture, every monument will have one of those stuck on. Oh, it's the Masons, the Freemasons.
It's everywhere.
But yeah, Freemason shit is like, it's not that they're special because they're the Freemasons. It just happens that like the richest, creepiest people, they like doing secret societies. So there's frats. They've made like a frat of only insanely rich people and then their descendants, and it's the fact that they're leading is what matters, not that they're Masons. Like being a Mason doesn't give you superpowers. Like that's the weird conspiracy part, is that somehow they like are actually using real magic to. No, it's just that rich people get together and do. It's the ruling class, everybody. It's just class dynamics. They just happen to love making creepy clubs.
Yeah, that
like
you can't be a part of.
Yeah, if you're rich enough, if your dad was rich enough. They talked briefly in the Dublin Castle about like the initiation rituals of these creepy rich guys. It's like it was really hard to get in, but once you did, like if your dad got in, you'd be fine. Right? And
yeah.
I like looking at the casualties. It's like the people who had the most casualties seems to have been like the government, where you have all these like killed, 10 killed, 15 killed, 32 killed, and then you look down on the far right terrorists, and it's like 3 arrested. Like,
yeah, right?
53 arrested, 42 indicted. Okay, that's like the NAR, right? It's like, damn, there were all these orgs up here, And apparently none of these fuckers wanted to actually put skin in the game because look who actually was in the action.
Right. Exactly.
And then you got, oh my God, 12,000. I mean, they weren't killed, at least arrested, but 12,000 far left militants arrested. 600 fled the country. Like, the goal of your Days of Lead is any faction or group that is actually dangerous to the establishment, or to, in this case, NATO and Operation Gladio. You'll be neutralized. It's a great opportunity for them to go around, because a lot of people are raising their hands like, hello, I am a dangerous militant, and they go, hello, thank you very much, and then they arrest you, or target you, and then you flee the country, etc. It's a great way to neutralize any actual left movement, and that's why your reckless adventurism is triple bad, because if you're actually a good comrade and then you go out and get yourself arrested by like breaking windows and burning shit down for really at the end of the day no reason, or for negative reasons because you're just going to creep people out, regular people are going to see that and be put off by that.
Right.
It's just
it gives the right and the government the ammunition against the left to say, look, they're violent, they're crazy, they're terrorists, they'll break their own shit, they don't care.
And if that led to something, I'd be like, okay, well, you see, there's going to be short-term setbacks, but no, it never leads to anything. There's no historic example.
It never gets far enough.
Yeah, there's no historic example of like a big riot or somebody shooting off a firework.
Other than union scenarios. You see that in union scenarios where, union members will get into a fight with police who had been brought on with them, and there would be, big fights. But ultimately, the unions would generally win until we didn't do unions anymore. So that's basically what we're looking at here with this is like, why does this matter now? Because we're in the situation we're kind of gearing up towards, using the left against itself, and then pushing people further into the right because they say, well, I don't want to be part of this crazy shit of getting in trouble with cops and breaking shit and burning down police stations and whatever. And then they end up moving further right. And a lot of the time, I'm not sure exactly what the Italian history was going on here, but a lot of the time in around history following a outbreak or a pandemic, there becomes this kind of austerity and conservatism movement. And I'm not sure what constitutes that, like why one ends up equaling the other. So that ends up kind of being a prime scenario for the government to align with the right and allow leftists to look bad and create this sense of paralysis where just your common person who doesn't see themselves as far anything, who's just out there trying to live life, then that's where we end up in this sort of Days of Lead scenario. And that is very applicable. Wouldn't you say? It's very applicable.
This will be my last thing. Then I'm gonna bike to the post office. I got orders again today.
Yay!
But Operation Gladio, it's some stuff that sounds like part of the Cold War and Years of Lead in Italy. Secret stay behind network. Operation Gladio was the codename for clandestine, meaning like secret, stay-behind operations of armed resistance that were organized by the Western Union and subsequently by NATO and by the CIA, and by the CIA in collaboration with several European intelligence agencies during the Cold War. Although Gladio specifically refers to the Italian branch of the NATO stay-behind organization. So yeah, what does that mean? Stay-behind organizations of armed resistance. So like, countries that they were scared were going to go communist, because if you read down that Years of Lead thing, the complaints are like Italy was experiencing an anti-capitalist, anti-government backlash thing, and the Catholics and the communists were teaming up to I'm like, wait, what? Huh? Like, oh my God, like stuff was changing in Italy. Oh my goodness. And they need to make sure that doesn't happen. And the strategy there that worked is your Gladios and your Years of Lead. Like, let's just start these leave behind armed resistances. So when you hear about the quote far right terrorists, it's not that like, Italy was just full of all these horrible fascists who eventually, it's like, no, those were intentional. I don't know if you'd call them freaking crisis actors, paid outside agitators. That's the phrase they always use here in the U.S. Yes. They're people who were left behind by the CIA and NATO to just cause shit. Remember last week I brought up the Egyptian-Israeli plot in the 50s to like set a bunch of bombs and like that kind of shit. Just unrest. Just Italy is undergoing.
Yeah. Keeping people all fucked up so that they don't know what is going on or who is right or where to align themselves politically.
To stop an organic worker movement that appeared to be happening in Italy. Who knows where that would have gone if there wasn't intentional fake armed resistance, like doing
Right.
shit. It's kind of what Tiananmen Square was, but you're not allowed to talk
Yeah.
about that one because it's too close to
It,
home.
it, it tells you also that there has been communism is obviously a success, which you see with your own eyeballs. But communism is obviously a success because everywhere has tried to stop it with
Look how
no
hard they
holds
have to
barred.
work to try and F it up, and it still keeps rolling along.
Yes.
According to several Western European researchers, the operation involved the use of assassination, psychological warfare, false flag operations to delegitimize left wing parties in Western European countries, and even went so far as to support anti communist militias and right wing terrorism as they tortured communists and assassinated them, such as Eduardo Mondlane in 1969. The U.S. Department of State rejected the view that they supported terrorists and they don't do that. Like when you'd hear people talk about how Obama made ISIS, and you're like, oh, that's a crazy person saying that. And then you look into it and you're like, well, during the Obama administration, this amount of money was flown to ISIS. And you're like, oh, shit, they were right again. The paranoid people. The U.S. rejected the view that they supported past tense terrorists and maintains that the operation served only to resist the potential invasion of Western European countries by the Soviet Union. You see, they had to fight the Ukraine war because Russia was going to take over the entire world if they didn't fund people with swastikas tattooed on their necks. It was just, we had to do it. It's unfortunate, but we had no other choice.
Yes. Yeah. So that gives you something to think about because we are potentially working our way into that sort of a scenario where the government aligns with right idealism and
Oh, an
excuses.
assassination where they're desperate to pin it on Antifa or whatever the fuck.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's something we didn't even get into today because the anti-fascist movement, Antifa for short, is no movement, is no organization, is not a thing, and that's exactly why
But it's
been
officially
targeted.
designated now as what
It's officially designated as a terrorist organization, even though there is no organization. It isn't one.
So
There
they can
is
just
nothing.
bust you, say you're Antifa, and then hit you with terrorism charges.
Right, and somebody kicks your door in or turns your stream off or whatever. The point is that they align themselves with the right, excuse what happens on the right, blame the left, and fan the flames of anything going on with the left. When in a lot of these other places, there had been a more organized left. In America, we know that's not the case. It's an ideology.
Yeah, we had like 5 different commie parties.
Right. Yeah, it's an ideology. It's not a movement. That's a big problem that people have with the left on the left is we can't agree on anything. We will fight each other over anything, and we just become this like completely fractured scenario. And you've even heard from the FBI and CIA saying that they're too dumb to infiltrate because they don't want to do all the reading, and they don't. There's nowhere to go, and there's no meetings, and there's no meetups, and there's no teams, and there's
That's part of why people are like, why would they want to kill Charlie Kirk? It's the right wing killing the right wing. Like, isn't that just like killing their own guy? And it's like, well, you see, the left, you don't really have to do assassinations and crazy shit to like scramble up the left because the left is just nothing. We're just we're completely ineffective, innate. We're a base metal. There is no activity coming off of it where whoever controls, quote, the right, the just general normie sentiment going on in the U.S. kind of controls the U.S., like at least politically. Like who has any kind of power at all? It's the vague center-right, like normie, the normies, just regular-ass people. And that's why it's such a disaster that regular-ass people are like, this seems fucking weird. Like what...
They were scrambling to try to structure stories that blamed it on the left. Like that was the immediate narrative that they put out there. But then it ultimately, very quickly, then at least some news organizations started saying there's no connection here.
These normies are starting to get pissed about Epstein and asking the government. They're asking too many questions. We need to remind them who their real enemy is. Antifa.
Right. And yeah, exactly, which is not a thing. That's just an ideal. Like if you think people are fascist and you are not that, congratulations, you're Antifa.
Remember, you're not supposed to hate us, the government. You're supposed to hate, I don't know, some random gay teenager.
Exactly. And then again, who always primarily makes up a leftist ideological group? Minorities, immigrants, disenfranchised people who with nothing to lose. So it's like they always are looking at how can they commit further violence on gays, on immigrants, on black people of color, on women. Like how can they further demonize them and make them seem like they are outside of the system and they want to harm your precious system and
all
make
the patsies now are like
it.
regular ass, not regular ass, but like white guys in their like early early 20s actually, and it's like that's who the future plurality of the electorate is, right?
Right.
Because like white people aren't 51% plus in America, but we're still the plurality, like we're the largest minority, whatever you want to, however you want to think of it. The largest ethnic group are like who are, especially people who are politically active, are people in their early 20s who hang out on Discord and watch politics videos and blah blah blah. It's like, so now we're just where does that go? Where does it go? Where
Right.
if the terrorist demographic is just a very average, politically aware white man
Yeah, it
who's
becomes
20
their
years
own
old.
base, and that's again,
Yes, I'm
that's
saying,
that where
like,
we can kind of throw it back to the Days of Lead thing. It's like, well, who is teaming up at this point? And then you've seen a lot of on our show going like, well, unfortunately, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson has some great points this week. You know, like we don't want to fucking do that, but that is what happens, and that's exactly like why we bring that up, because it ends up sort of showing you the way of what goes on. I'm not going to say things like improved for Italy very much after that point politically.
it definitely secured them as a quote Western nation and NATO ally, and they definitely did not become a bunch of communists.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're just about to the end of our time. I forgot to shout the chat out, so hey to Nathan and Time Traveler, thanks for joining us today for the episode. Yes, Jared has some errands to run. Quick note, we're going to, coming up in the this next month, I've got a new book coming out. Jared always has excellent music coming out, so make sure you download his music. But I've got a book coming out, and I'm going to have a couple of live events after the show that you can join and hang out with us. Maybe I don't know, Jared's usually pretty busy, but you can hang out with me anyway, and we'll talk about all of that and what's coming up and what's going on. So maybe something fun to look forward to if you get tired of all the gloom and doom. But that will be, again, separate from the show. I will come back on, but you'll have ample warning about that. So just check out our socials. If you want to see any of our past episodes, our entire archive is on our YouTube channel as well as our Rumble channel. So if you're wondering did we ever address something, go have a look at some of our old episodes. And if you have something you want us to talk about or questions, comments, hit us up on our Twitter DMs, at us, whatever you want, and we'll try to do the best that we can to answer questions, comments, and that. So happy Equinox, happy Rapture.
Yeah, good luck with the rapture today, everybody.
Yeah, I hope you have a good rapture. We in the last couple of days, Jared and I have been like, we were super juiced about it being fall season, so we're talking about that a little bit. So so glad the summer's over, even though the heat here is still horrible and I'm miserable. But glad to have the season change anyway. It orients your mind, because I hate the summer. So yeah, just connect with us online and take care of yourselves and each other. Try to keep it together and do the best that you can, holding it down. And we will be back with you next week to discuss whatever fresh hell is going on then. So take care, everybody, and we will see you again soon. So bye-bye.